So I'm really excited to be with you today, Laura, and I know we've talked before, but for those who don't know you, share a little bit about your story.
From an education background, I went to the University of Missouri St. Louis, and then I went to St. Louis U for graduate school. So I got my master's in international business, which led to about 9 years ago, I started teaching there.
Yeah.
And so I love it. I teach a class called New Venture Feasibility Analysis, which might not sound as cool as if I said it's a class like Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And so students come in with an idea, and we run it through feasibility to get it from a concept to either a go or no go. And then the capstone class is business plan writing. But at the end of the semester, we have the students pitch before sharks or outside people that are investors in the space of their idea.
Wow.
So it's just like Shark Tank in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's really neat to see, a student's thought or idea get from concept to a go.
So what's the biggest piece of advice that you're giving those students that are coming into this and that are pitching that you see over and over again?
So we start with the very beginning, the idea stage. So one piece of advice we look at is, is this a problem worth solving? Is it big enough? And then what is their solution? So we really get into looking at what is the value proposition. So they might have a great idea, but then we look at carving out the niche for their idea. So we get into that brand piece of it. But after that, we look at how do they go to market, what are the financials on it, what is their team. And so all these components make up the feasibility of it and then the pitch. And so we've had quite a few students go from concept to definitely a go.
Wow.
And actually created quite a few business owners from it.
Soft skills, I think sometimes are overlooked, especially if you're investing in a tech company where sometimes the founder is really strong on the technical skills and that side of it, but not so strong on the soft skills. So have you found that really important when you're investing in these companies, that the founder also has those skills to be personable, and how do you coach for that?
Sure, it's definitely one of those things that you can coach on and improve upon. Practice makes perfect in front of an audience or a camera or when you're pitching. And so it takes time and practice, and so that's part of what we coach on. So when you think about Business Accelerator, it's kind of as its name suggests, we accelerate through three things: through capital, through connections, and through subject matter experts. And sometimes those experts are teaching on the soft skills, and other times they're teaching on, the accounting, the marketing,
how to code.
the operations, how to code. And so those soft skills, if that's not your forte, hopefully someone on your team it is. But it usually is up to the CEO or founder to develop those. So they know their story best, so usually it comes out pretty well. But it's getting past some of the nerves, getting in front of different audiences and making your story relevant. Speaking of nerves and getting over audiences,
after this interview, you're actually on a panel today discussing a variety of topics with investments, and I know that you regularly give speeches and talks, and I'm wondering, do you get nervous talking in front of crowds? How do you get over that if you do get nervous?
Yeah, I think there's a nervous excitement at this point, and so for me, the nerves are a little bit more about, I hope I deliver a message that is relevant to people, that makes sense to people, and that can help them. And so I think that practice makes perfect. If you've rehearsed, if you're giving a presentation, rehearsing can make it look nonchalant and off the cuff because you know your subject. But there's some ad-libbing. You have to read the room. Some things you can do ahead of time is know what the room looks like, how many people will be there. If you can get a handle on who the audience is, what their backgrounds are, all the better, because then you can, just like branding, target your message to that audience.
You've coached a lot of big companies on branding, including Express Scripts and McDonald's. What are some of the big trends that you see now in 2018 as far as corporate branding goes?
So strategy is a vision well told. And so if you tell that story well, then that becomes the brand's message, right? And so brand storytelling is really the convergence between the business strategy, the brand strategy, and in the middle is really that brand story. And so how do you better tell the who we are, what we do, why we do it, and more importantly, the value proposition, or why you're better or unique versus the competition. And so the better you can tell that story, there's a saying that the Gallup company says, and it says, the clearer the mission, the higher the margin. And so if people understand who you are and what you do, or say what you offer, then they're more likely to buy, right? Because they get who you are.
You're currently writing an article about how to be more investable. I'm wondering if you can share some little tips that you're writing about.
Yeah, absolutely. So to be investable means a lot of different things. So if you think about companies, you know, what makes them investable? They've got a great idea, a large market for it. It's unique in some way, shape, or form, and it serves a purpose, or it fills a need. So the same thing about a person. So what is it about you that's different, unique? What are your knowledge and skill sets? So it starts to get into building a personal brand.
All ties back full circle, right?
Yeah, it comes full circle.
What do you think is the best way to find a mentor and get in contact with them?
Well, I think looking for people that you admire, and for the career path or the trajectory that you're looking to go, if they've kind of trailblazed that, I think that's one way. And I also think looking at the values of a person, what is it they value, their work ethic, their morals, their values, all those things come into play, because as you get mentored by that person, you want to have a good, strong role model in those areas.
What's the best piece of investment advice you've ever received?
So saving leads to investing. And if you think about investing in startups, it's really the continuum of money is friends, family, founders, angel investors, kind of as the name suggests, an angel fell from heaven and gave you money, right?
Yeah.
And then venture capital, and then it leads to an IPO, or initial public offering. And then the other side of the fence is stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And that's the area that we all are more familiar with. So if you think that's really high risk, then this other side of the fence is really, really high risk. So just knowing where you're playing in that investing continuum is really important.
Interesting.
So know thyself.
Yes, exactly. After founding the Catalyst Center and teaching adjunct and all of these other things that you do, is there something that really sticks out in your head as your greatest accomplishment so far?
So in 2011, I started the Catalyst Center, and after a career working at different places, I had the opportunity to we sold off a company, so I had my shares of stock were bought out. So I had the opportunity to either go to work somewhere or start my own business, and that was kind of a pivotal moment when I started the Catalyst Center.
Do you think it was innate to start the Catalyst Center? Do you think you were always an entrepreneur, or?
Well, I've done entrepreneur things throughout, growing up, but that was one of the more bigger, I guess, endeavors that I went into. And so I just looked at what I've done most of my life. Most of the time I've been in strategy, brand, marketing, business development, and I kind of pulled that thread through to create the Catalyst Center and do the things that I felt I was best at, using those skill sets, and then building out other skill sets with those around me.
What's your favorite tech brand right now that you're really watching and interested in?
Well, I'm a big Apple fan.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of Apple products. So they just unveiled some new ones today in Brooklyn, New York. So, however, the other side of that coin is I just co-presented in Boston with Microsoft.
Oh, interesting.
And so
A little bias back and forth.
well, I guess I'm
They're both exciting companies, though,
I'm
nonetheless.
tech stock agnostic. But everybody has, or every brand has its pros and cons, but those are a couple that I'm a fan of.
Final two questions. One would be, what are you most excited for right now or looking forward to? Like, what's next for you right now, Laura?
Well, I think I look to the future, and it's just my personal passion. So anything future related, I can't wait to see what happens. There's always something new going on in the world, and being a part of those kinds of things is what I'm most excited about.
What woman right now are you most inspired by? I know there's a lot.
Wow. So it was an interesting story. There's so many that it would, I hate to
Probably all
mention
for different
one.
reasons, right?
Yeah, for very different reasons. But I'm usually typically inspired by people that have a vision for what's next and they go after it.
Yeah.
I think entrepreneurship is one of the hardest endeavors. There takes so much. You really have to have a passion for it, and passion is what when you have the peaks and valleys. The passion allows you to lift up the next day, get out of bed, and keep going for it.
I think it's a great note to leave on. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Did you ever believe